Yeah, it's a bit hot in here. Had to take off my shirt and everything because in there it was a little bit too hot, but this concoction is what I came up with, and it's quite a winner. Oh dear, I'm looking kind of sickly, aren't I? Anyway, hey yo, it's Raymond here, and just arrived in the Philippines as of a few days ago, and my family and I have taken up residence in this Ultima Towers here in Cebu City, Fuente Osmeña. And while my family is out to go get some orthodontist things done for their teeth, leaving me here alone, I thought it would be best to show you around this hotel space and just ruminate over different things that we could use to churn out good recordings for voiceover, and how we might improvise the room to be a little bit more acoustically treated. But this will serve as a little bit of a tour of the space that I find myself in, and see what we can do. Also, note to self, we just arrived a couple of days ago, but don't fly with Philippine Airlines. Me as a Filipino wanting to promote Filipino products, as well as be relatively patriotic, this I just can't get behind. There's a couple of things that you shouldn't do to earn and keep my respect. You shouldn't use my Lord's name in vain, and you definitely shouldn't make my mother cry. Philippine Airlines cancelling our connecting flights from Manila. We went to Cebu. That flight didn't happen, so it was a stopover flight. Melbourne to Manila went all fine. And then a couple hours before that, we also knew that the flight between Manila to Cebu had been cancelled on short notice. And the airline, to their credit, the staff members, they did try to help us, but otherwise, yeah, it was quite an ordeal and a very stressful one for all of my family. My mom more so. But enough out of that, let's show the room and see what I can tell you about acoustically treating the space and outlining different considerations that you need to keep in mind if you yourself are traveling and just trying to get something usable out of your gear in a situation that is not in your own recording space or your home studio. So let's turn the camera around so you can stop looking at my unsightly face. And let me tell you, the first thing that we should do is that if we have any air conditioners in the space, kind of like that one over there, you would finally want to just turn them off. So we're just going to turn off that one using the dial, and we'll get right on our way. So just over here now, entrance is over here, and this is the kitchen area that I'm standing in right now. All well and good, but obviously most of the composition of the floor here is tiles. So when you're trying to record something, it should not be a wide open space like this. This is a very pleasant room, by the way. This is one of the cheaper ones. Currently we are traveling as a family of 4, and for my part, I volunteered to sleep down here on this little mattress. I find this quite comfortable, and I like it. So don't worry about me if you think that's a little funny. I let my family go upstairs, and you'll see that there is a lot more better hospitable things up there. But let's, have a bit of a tour as well. This is again Cebu City, so Fuente Osmeña is where I find myself in, and the view here is pretty nice. Some people might think it's stellar. This is a side window in which there are no curtains. There's curtains over here, which for voiceover would be pretty useful. Kind of like if you are a drama student and you have those wings, which are large curtains, you could use that. Let me just show you the view here as well, which is quite good. If you haven't been here before in the Philippines, you know that the archipelago has a lot of different sites for you to behold. And right now we are again in Cebu City. Specifically, this is Fuente Osmeña. So we are basically in the heart of the city, and it's easily identified by that city circle right there. It's kind of like a roundabout-esque where all the disorganized chaos you might think happens, but the disorganized chaos is quite orderly. Just make sure that you look both ways before you cross the street, and I think you'll be fine. My family has stayed in the few hotels down there, but right now I'd say this is the one that has the best view, and although you can see the traffic down there, it was more of an issue in terms of sound when we were staying in those buildings just over there. So that's something we'll talk about right now. In terms of an advantage that I have in this room is that we're pretty high up. We are in floor 21. This is like a 27-story building. The sound downstairs isn't being picked up too much from, you know, the street and all the blaring horns of the jeepneys and stuff like that. Even that's being said, I wouldn't set up shop right here. You know, if you're a voiceover artist that has a lot of experience, like you've got 10 years on me, I've only been doing this for a while, you know that this is not an opportune place. You don't want to set up shop by the window because it's hot, so you're going to be uncomfortable. But in terms of sound, a wide open space like this is not going to be hospitable for you because also you have tiles. Yeah, so that's too reverberant and there's a lot of bare walls. Essentially, if you're a beginner, to understand good acoustics, you can go to the center of the room and clap your hands or click. And what you're listening out for is if the sound is going to be echoing back to you. That's kind of like the first tell of a room being good. We walked past the toilets just over there by the entrance, so let's go back over there now real quick. And I'll talk to you about like the space in terms of size. So typically you have a shower, you know? Your space can simply be as big as that, and then you decorate the walls with acoustic treatment to get the best out of it. But right now you can already hear that my sound, or rather my voice, being picked up by the audio of my camera. It doesn't sound pleasant. It sounds like I'm literally sitting on a toilet and saying whatever it is that I would be doing for voiceover. It could be my lines, could be my sides, could be anything that I'm doing. But if it sounds like this, if you have a Neumann TLM 103 or a fancy Telefunken and you're recording it in a space like this, it's just not going to be good. And Casting Call Club, a lot of people sound like this. That's no real shade or anything. It's just an objective thing that I've heard and seen people actually get up to. So you want to make sure that your space, while this is a good size, this is kind of almost the same size that my recording studio at home is in terms of parameters. It's like 2 meters by 2 meters. That will be fine. But you can go smaller than that, if not like the shower, you know? But you have to make sure that the surrounding area is laden with acoustic material or just anything that can absorb your voice, expelling from your mouth and hitting all the other surfaces that are kind of like bare wall, and then possibly going back into the microphone. Alright, so let's move right on, and I'll just show you just a couple other things that you can consider. So before I was telling you that I was using this little mattress to sleep on. We can basically get the pillows, the blanket, as well as maybe this sheet right here, or if not the futon itself. And what you can consider yourself doing if the situation is very dire, or perhaps you're limited in space, is you can basically prop this up and isolate a corner of the room. And then what you would do is that you would stand basically behind it, and then you only have to contend with 2 other bits of the wall, which you can then use your luggage. In my case, I basically have this large parka that I'm going to use for Japan because it might be cold there. Or you could possibly use towels that you can drape on the walls, and if you have multiple family members, you possibly have more towels provided to you by the staff members. That can be useful. At the entrance, we also had those floor rugs, which you can basically put on top of the tiles, and that acts as your sound deadening for the floor if you wanted to use that in a small corner of the room. But fortunately for us, we also have the upstairs portion, which is a little bit more hospitable for recording. So we'll head up there now, and I'll show you just real quickly what the layout of the room is, and just give you an idea of what this room also looks like if you're planning to stay here. I do like this room. Yeah, structurally, it's pretty sound, but don't expect everything to be perfect because you're going to see a lot of cracks in the walls and stuff like that because it is very humid here. And the Philippines just prioritizes functionality above anything else. So manage your expectations, and you know, you'll be able to figure something out. So right over here we have one of the bedrooms. Yeah. So this is basically where my parents are, you know, sleeping, which is good for them. It's a large queen-size bed. But let's see what we have here, specifically if I wanted to record anything. You can probably hear a siren downstairs now, so that might be an issue if I wanted to use this room. But that's a non-issue because you have, again, clothes that we've brought with us that we can use. We have a mattress, which we can basically, in the most extreme case, remove and place it against the window, and we can go behind it and then use these curtains to give ourselves a 180 barrier behind us. If we stood right here on the ground, we can put the clothes, we can stand on it, and then we can see how that sounds. Over there we have a wardrobe that opens up just like this. Now, I understand that a lot of people have a wardrobe like this at home, which is good. Obviously you can't record directly into it like this because it sounds a little boxy, does it not? It's kind of like when you're a kid. Oh, I'm very dark there. There we go. So if you have a wardrobe like this, that's kind of half the battle. If you're trying to visualize how much space you're going to want to work with, and you're also trying to mitigate the sound that's carrying from your voice all around the room. This basically gives you an idea of how you can set up your laptop in here. If you want to sit down, you can have like a bit of a table propping you up. But to prevent it from sounding boxy, what you can do is, again, use those rugs downstairs to put on the floor where you're standing. You can drape your parkas, your towels, or any kind of absorbent material that you might have on the door. On the back, you can place your microphone right here, or keep it at a bit of a distance. You can find whatever works for you and experiment a little bit with the sound that you're churning out of it, and then try to reduce whatever reverb and echo would be present in the audio then. And experimenting when you're on holiday, while not ideal if you have a tight deadline, it's part of the fun, I like to think. So that's why I'm making a video like this, to show you like what the different possibilities are if you still want to be able to understand acoustics, as well as just work on something and get tangible audio out of it. Yeah? So I might record something out of there later on, and you'll be able to listen to it through my gear that I brought with me, and hopefully it will be presentable. But let's continue on with the showcase of the room, so I can show you other different possibilities we might have. And we'll move right on. So out of that room now, on the second floor we have another toilet behind me, so basically it's the same kind of deal with the one downstairs. Sorry for the darkness. I will bring you in here with me. Alright, so again, this is basically a toilet, and you can kind of see like what it is that we're working with here. Yeah, the showers that you have in any residence are typically of like 1 meter by 1 meter, and that's a lot of room to work around with if you are a voice actor and you're going to be doing a lot of efforts. You get excited, you're not going to be jumping around too much, but that is a good size, especially if you're looking to build one of those PVC constructions, and then you pretty much finish it with acoustic treatment in the form of moving blankets, or those bits of material that have the grommets at the top that you then put over it. Basic rule of thumb, try to make it easy to stand in, and in terms of length and width and height, you just fine tune it to your specs. And you can probably find a video about that on YouTube as to how to create one of those things for yourself. And then you can also determine if the cost is right for you. So the last room we have here on the second floor is where my brother is staying. Because I'm such a nice brother, and my little brother is quite a moody dude, I've decided to give him his space. And he has the upper loft room right here. So again, you kind of get the idea of what it is that we can possibly work with. When you're also trying to select a room in a hotel, you want it to be kind of the innermost room. What do I mean by that? I mean that if you have a choice and you have the luxury of choosing a space that is not by the wall of your neighbors, your other tenants, and it's away from the traffic, as in away from the windows that I showed you earlier. A room such as this would be the best bet in my opinion, because objectively it's a lot more relatively silent. The temperature is going to be relatively a little bit less, so it might be a little bit more comfortable for you if hot, sweltering climates don't do you any favors. But at the same time, you still need to consider if the space is going to be not too large, but just wide enough for you to work in, and if there's other material here that you can use to help you record a little bit better. So again, we have pillows that we can drape on the walls, as alongside with the blankets, and the mattress that, to the most extreme, you can flip and position it to cover a large portion of the wall, and then get right to it. Yeah, it's a bit hot in here. Had to take off my shirt and everything because in there it was a little bit too hot, but this concoction is what I came up with, and it's quite a winner. Okay, so this is a bit of a test recording now, using my makeshift recording space inside a hotel room in Cebu City, Fuente Osmeña, the Philippines. And yeah, it's the same gear that I showed in my previous video. We are running a Audio-Technica AT2020 XLR powered microphone through an Alesis IO2 Express audio interface. And, you know, in terms of the space, it leaves a lot to be desired in terms of comfortability. Right now we are in the corner of a room, an innermost room. We have elected to get the mattress that I was sleeping on and prop it against the bed and isolate a corner of the room. So essentially I'm sitting down on a chair, holding the microphone without a shock mount, but I still have a pop filter on the actual capsule itself. The ground that I am, sitting on has my laptop in front of it, so I can see the waveforms going through the microphone and coming out in the door. Above my head, I have basically just open space where one of my parkas is being held up by my right hand, and I'm just, keeping it that way to ensure that there's very little sound that can seep through around my general vicinity. The door is closed for this innermost room, so you can't hear the neighbors flushing their toilets or having a shower. And, the only thing that I have to worry about is if my headphones are just scraping against the zipper of my jacket that I just told you that I'm holding up with my right hand. This is working. It's not comfortable, but the sound is, somewhat usable. And as I can see it in the waveforms, it's coming in quite nicely. And yeah, this is basically what you can hope to achieve. You can definitely go a lot further in terms of the acoustic treatments, but I quite like what I'm hearing right now. And this is my recording space and what I was able to yield out of my circumstance as well as the other variables. So yeah, voice acting on the road and when you're on vacation, it's definitely doable. It takes a long time to set up and you might not always be comfortable, but, if there is a will, there is a way. And trust me, you can start your voiceover journey on holiday today. Alright, see y'all later.